So good morning. This morning we are, no, oh my goodness. I didn't change that. I am so sorry. That is the wrong title because the title today is Don't Push Your Luck. Don't push your luck.
Oh, okay.
Apparently I pushed mine by not changing this. I changed everything else on there. Oh well. I forgive myself. All right, so I once read a book filled with advice on giving good sermons. One of the points said a really good sermon is similar to a really good sandwich that has two ends made out of rich and robust bread and then lots of juicy, succulent meat or lots of ripe, healthy vegetables, depending on your food choices, in the middle. However, unlike a really good sandwich, the two ends of a really good sermon should be as close together as possible. Well, today's your lucky day, maybe. Maybe not. We'll see how close together they are. I'm going to try to follow the sermon sandwich rule, and I'm going to try to have them kind of close together, but we'll see how we do, because there'll be some sharing time in here, and that might take a little more time. So we will begin concluding our month's theme by looking at how we never need to push our luck, but rather how we can access a key ingredient that will pull our highest good straight toward us. So let's dive into the meat or the veggies of our sermon sandwich. Each week this month, we have taken one of the 4 luck factors as uncovered in a 10-year study on luck that was done by Dr. Richard Wiseman and set forth in his book, The Luck Factor. 4 simple principles that will change your luck and your life. And of course, we have said all along, and here's one last reminder, we know that luck has absolutely nothing to do with it, right? What we know is that when we expect our good and become living embodiments of it, when we are grateful for what we already have and seize upon the myriad of opportunities that Spirit puts in front of us, and when we choose to see God or the good right in the middle of any challenge, our lives shift and change for the better. And it's not about luck, but rather it's about living in harmony with divine love, with infinite peace, with eternal plenty, with immeasurable power, all of which are God. And as we are living in harmony with those spiritual qualities, we are utilizing that neutral, impersonal law, which we always say, which we know that the law always says yes to whatever we plant in it, for it is always for us rather than against us. So, what's luck got to do with it? Nada, zippo, zilch, nothing. It's all about how we get ourselves consciously connected to, aligned, and in harmony with God. And our 4th luck factor is no exception to what I just said. It is lucky people listen to their hunches. Lucky people listen to their hunches. How might we say that in a different way? Lucky people follow their intuition, right? And what is intuition? And where does our intuition come from? Webster defines intuition as the direct perception of truth, fact, etc., independent of any reasoning process, immediate apprehension. Immediate apprehension. It is the voice of God in us. Our intuition, Holmes writes in The Science of Mind, is intuition is God in us, revealing to us the realities of being. And just as instinct guides the animal, so would intuition guide us, if we would but allow it to do so. Lucky people allow it to do so. Simple as that. From The Luck Factor, Wiseman writes, when I asked lucky and unlucky people what was behind their successful and unsuccessful decision, they had very little idea how to explain their consistent good and bad luck. Lucky people said that they simply knew when a decision was right. In contrast, unlucky people viewed many of their poor choices as yet more evidence of how that they were always destined to fail. I undertook research to discover why lucky people's decisions led to so much more success and happiness than those of unlucky people. The results were to show the remarkable ability of our unconscious minds. According to the research, there are 2 factors behind lucky people listening to their hunches, and the first might sound like a Homer Simpson duh, but the importance of it cannot be overstressed. Lucky people listen to here's the big word, and follow their gut feelings and hunches. So it's more than just listening to. It's more than just listening, going, gee, I should have done that. How many of us have had an intuition to do something, we didn't do it, somebody else did, and go, I had that thought, but you didn't act on it, right? You can listen to your intuition all night long, but if you don't do what you hear, then, well, we might not as well listen to it, right? I love this thought on intuition from someone who did some life-saving work in the field of medical science. It is always with excitement that I wake up in the morning wondering what my intuition will toss up to me, like gifts from the sea. I work with it and rely on it. It is my partner. Who is this man of science? Who said that? Anybody have any idea who said that? It was Jonas Salk. Jonas Salk, the man who discovered and developed one of the first successful polio vaccines. The world owes his intuition and his willingness to follow it a debt, a huge debt of gratitude. So lucky people listen to and follow their intuition. And it can work in the opposite way as well, if you don't listen to it, right? Let's take a look at some great moments in intuition, a timeline, and this was actually published in the Oprah magazine. So we're talking about 350 BCE. Aristotle defines wisdom as intuitive reason combined with scientific knowledge. Ooh, what does Holmes say at the beginning of the Science of Mind? One day, religion and science will walk hand in hand. Wow. 44 BCE. Calpurnia, wife of Julius Caesar, foresees her husband's assassination and begs him not to go to the Senate. Caesar does not listen. Several stab wounds and a few famous last words later. And he is dead, right? All right, so 1865, Ulysses S. Grant is invited to join Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater. Grant's wife, Julia, urges him not to go. Unlike Caesar, Grant heeds his wife's advice. It soon emerges that he too may have been an assassination target that night. Moral of the story, always listen to your wife, right? Okay. 1936, knobbly-kneed and underweight, the racehorse Seabiscuit is a frequent loser. But Buick salesman Charles S. Howard is sure he's buying a future champ. Howard pairs him with a new trainer and jockey, and the Biscuit retires in 1940 as racing's all-time prize winner. Is that still true, Mr. Holmer?
Well, you'd have to take today's dollars against.
Yes, you'd have to compare, right?
$40, so.
But he did well.
It's hard to say.
He did well.
There's like $5 million races.
Yeah. This is true. 1940, Winston Churchill is dining at 10 Downing Street when a German bomb hits nearby. He orders his staff to leave the kitchen. Moments later, another bomb falls, obliterating, you guessed it, the kitchen. 1943, avid people watchers Catherine Cook Briggs and daughter Isabel Briggs Myers develop a questionnaire to measure personality preferences. Anybody familiar with the Myers? Mm-hmm. Initially aimed at women entering the wartime workforce. The Myers-Briggs type indicator, which counts intuition among the most important facets of a person's nature, becomes one of the most widely used personality tests of all times. And I'm qualified to give that test, by the way. I went through the coursework on that. 1961, Ray Kroc's funny bone instinct becomes the stuff of business legend when he ignores his lawyer's advice and borrows $2.7 million to buy out a modest fast food franchise he helped to build. Now more than 47 million people sit down or drive up for one of his McMeals. 1962, after Madeleine L'Engle's, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, L'Engle's fantasy novel for children is rejected by roughly 40 publishers. Her agent gives up and returns the manuscript. But when L'Engle meets John Farrar of Farrar, Straus, and Giroy, he gives it a read and decides to publish it through FSG. Although FFG doesn't publish children's titles, the novel is titled A Wrinkle in Time, and it goes on to sell some 10 million copies and has been turned into a movie. 1965, Paul McCartney hears a tune in a dream. The most magic thing. But it's so unlike anything he's written, he worries he's recalling someone else's song. McCartney plays it for anyone who will listen, but no one can identify it. So the Beatles record the track and title it
Hey Jude, I'm gonna hold your hand.
No, yesterday. Yesterday. Yeah. And I was just watching something on Facebook where he was saying that his mother came to it. He was
Mother Mary comes.
Yeah, he was mourning the death of his mother, and the song "Let It Be." His mother gave that to him in a dream. I was like, wow. 2005, seeming to intuit readers' fascination with intuition, Malcolm Gladwell publishes Blink, an examination of the mental processes and social factors that inform our snap decisions. The book goes on to sell more than 2 million copies and inspire a steady stream of similarly intuition-obsessed titles. And then 2010, while clipping coupons, Sue Compton sees a Pillsbury Bake-Off ad and senses fate. Inventing by instinct, I just let my mind relax, not knowing what was next. She makes a single batch of mini ice cream cookie cups, submits her recipe, and the doughboy forks over $1 million. Wow. Sweet, right? Let's add to that timeline. Does anyone have a personal example of how listening to your intuition has resulted in a positive experience or outcome? What do you have, Joy?
I have learned to completely trust my intuition when it comes in, but also to do what my intuition tells me. When I've consulted my intuition, what do I do in this situation? So this last week, I've had a client who's been calling and canceling. This third time after she did, I go, what the heck is going on? You know, she calls and then a few days go by and she cancels. And it's way out, so it's always really polite. And what my intuition told me, you just need to confront it head on. She has a free gift certificate to come for energy work, but she wants a massage, and I don't do free massages unless guidance says you need to do this. But otherwise, I never do free massages. And so I said, you know what? I'm getting that the problem is you want a massage and not the energy work, but I don't do free massages. And so you need to decide if you want the free energy work, because it's a gift certificate, it's free. And she said, you know what I do? So it was like the angst of the uncertainty was what was glitching her up. And when I confronted it, that went away. Now we have a solid appointment that I know she will come to next Friday.
Well, we'll
Awesome.
see.
No, I feel like, okay, now this is really going to happen this time. But my intuition said you have to confront the situation head on and clarify what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do.
And clear it up.
Right, and say if you don't want the energy work, please just return the gift certificate and I'll make sure it gets to someone who is open to that. And she goes, no, I want to do this. And she committed, and I could feel the energy shift into a real commitment. The other thing I call is our calling of the soul, where your intuition, something comes in it, but it's coming from the soul, and it's so strong you can't deny it. But if you do, you will end up depressed for sometimes the rest of your life over this. And my moment of the calling of the soul kind of intuition was when I was traveling through Modesto in 1976 with my husband. We were at Briggsmore McHenry. We had done the trip up the Coast Highway on a vacation. We didn't have any children yet. And I said, let's go through the valley. And we ended up at Briggsmore McHenry. And as we're sitting there, this wave of energy just washed over me. And I went, oh my God. He goes, what's going on? I said, I'm going to move here and this is where I'm going to come have kids. He goes, what are you talking about? We haven't even gotten out of the car. You don't even know this place. You don't have a job. You have nothing. I was moved up here a week later. And I knew no one. And I got here on a Friday, had a job on a Monday with a CPA office.
Wow.
So it was in divine order, but it's like a strong intuition that if you listen to it and follow it, I've been here since 76.
Wow.
And I did have my children here, and they met their soulmates, so, and one other situation where I wouldn't call it the calling of the soul, but I got home one day and it was about 3 o'clock and some friends called and said, hey, can you meet us at the Tasty Thai in Modesto? Some friends from out of town, they said we all want to just get together and go to Tasty Thai and catch up. So it's 3 o'clock and I go, yeah, sure, I'll be there at 6. Phone hangs up and my intuition says, go now. And I'm like, it's 3 hours away. What are you talking about? Go now. And they said, go now. And so I said, okay. So I followed my intuition. I drove to Taste Tide, parked the car, and I go, now what? They go into the store and look for some empty oil bottles, because I need those. But as I was walking in, a friend I hadn't seen in 5 years had been trying to get in touch with me and didn't know how, because I had moved and I didn't have the landline number that she was trying to. And we sat in her car for about an hour and a half, caught up, rekindled our friendship. She became a regular client again. So again, it was like, doesn't make any sense, but do it. If it feels right, do it.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you.
That's
Good, good examples. Rich, what do you have?
Well, I'm going back about 34 years, and I finished reading this book. I was a non-church person. My parents, my dad was a Catholic. My mom used to go to Christian Science Sunday school, but she never really was any church, so I wasn't raised in church at all. I went to church a couple times with girlfriends. Catholic speaking Latin meant nothing to me.
I know.
But, I had a spiritual part of me. I read this book, Illusions, by Richard Bach, and I was working in Lakewood at the time, and Chris was there too. And we were just friends. I had been in another relationship. She had been in another relationship. And so I said, hey, you got to read this book. And I gave her Illusions to read, because she was talking about this church she went to. And so she read the book. And she says, you got to come to my church. She says, you will love it. I'm going, it just feels right. And so the next Sunday, I met her at the Whittier Church of Religious Science, went in there, listened to the sermon, and I was like, my God, this is what I've been looking for my entire life. The minister is speaking to me, and it was just, it just changed my life. And also, through that intuition to go, that developed our relationship. Because that was the first time I'd ever come into someone who spiritually believed what I believed.
See, that's a soul
That
calling.
that was a
too.
soul calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That was
really
a soul calling.
And then just for a fun one, we had a offsite, and I've always considered myself very lucky. I expect to
Lucky man.
win.
Yes.
In fact, I used to go to these dinners, and I won so often that the people
Wouldn't even
expect me
play.
to win,
Yeah.
which made it even more
I
better.
expect you to win.
Yeah,
Now I expect Allison to win.
yeah, which made it even better for me. But anyway, it was after a workshop one time, and it was up near Twain Harbor. They have the Black Oak Casino, and we all went to, all the staff, executive staff went to there afterwards. And so I played blackjack for about 5 minutes, and I lost $45 that quickly. And so then I went to the slot machine and played a quarter slot machine, and I had $1 left. And so I thought, that's it. I'm going to go sit. I was with somebody, and she was winning. And so I said, hey, well, listen, whenever you finish and feel like going, let's do it. And so I'm just sitting, and I'm sitting by this dollar slot machine, and I'm looking at it. And something says, hey, you need to put $1 in that slot machine. So I put $1 in it, the last dollar, rolled it, hit a jackpot.
Oh my gosh.
And left there with more than I'd lost. So.
Wow.
Yay. Anybody else have something to
So
share?
fun.
No? No? Okay. Well, interesting stories, huh? Okay, so that brings us to the second factor of Weisman's research that he uncovered, which is that intuitive people also take steps to boost their intuition. We can actually enhance that, right? In the research, Weisman presented a variety of techniques purported to enhance intuition to see if they were, in fact, effective. And each one of them did enhance intuition, one dramatically so. They are, one, finding a quiet place to think. I think that's what Winnie the Pooh does. He likes to have his quiet
I
place.
get a lot of intuition standing at my kitchen sink looking at my window. For some reason, things just like,
Drop into you right there. Yeah,
really,
yeah.
like a vortex.
Exactly. Using technique to clear the mind. So something that clears your mind. Returning to the problem later, apparently there's some credence to Scarlett O'Hara's anthem, which was fiddle-dee-dee, I'll think about it tomorrow. Sometimes when you just let it go, the answer. I've done that with many things that I cannot find around my home. I know I put it somewhere. I'm going to sleep on it, and then it appears. But the one technique that was most statistically dramatic is, anyone want to take a guess what it is? It's a spiritual practice that we teach here.
Visualization.
Visualization and meditation. And meditation. Not specifically on a question or issue. They just had meditation as a regular practice.
Aligns your
Yeah. And here's a way that I have discovered in my 14 years of informal research as a spiritual leader. And it is directly related to the first idea of listening to and following our intuition hits. If we act upon our intuition hits, and this is really important, they get stronger and clearer. Acting on our intuition hones it. It strengthens it. It's just like working an intention muscle, right? But if we don't act upon our intuition hits, then those hits will get quieter and quieter. They stop speaking to us in ways that we can hear because why should they bother? We're not listening anyway. So if we practice listening and acting upon them, we'll get more and more. If you want to boost your intuition and benefit from its profound wisdom, which, by the way, I believe will never, ever, ever steer you wrong, then listen to them and follow them. And when we listen to, follow, and hone our intuition, we never need to push our luck, because that which serves and supports, that which uplifts and empowers, that prospers and enlivens us, is simply pulled to us. Becomes less effort. It's effortless. In the early 2000s, Wiseman capped his long study of lucky people with the creation of what he called the Luck School, in which he gave unlucky people exercises that taught them how to live from the four principles, which are to expect their good to come to them. Expect the best. Expect your good to come to you. Maximize what they already had, as well as the opportunities presented to them. Turn their bad luck into good, and listen to their intuition. In other words, to do the things that lucky people do. These are all of the things that lucky people do. He reported that a mere month later, 80% of the unlucky people in his school said that they were happier and luckier. Might you spend the next month, the month of July, enrolling in your own luck school? Sounds like a fun thing to do. And seeing how these four simple principle factors won't change your luck, but will definitely change your life. Because it's all how we look at it, right? Mm-hmm. All how we perceive it. And so it is.